The demon invasion transformed all of Canabras into one great battlefield. But nowhere in the city suffered as much as this square. This place saw a clash of titans, the demon lord Discari, leading his hordes from the abyss, and the dragon Terendelev, the mightiest of the city defenders and one of the first to fall. The scene of destruction leaves no doubt as to the battle's outcome. A skilled scout could recreate the course of the battle moment by moment simply by looking at the ruins. From the chimneys torn down by powerful wings in a sharp dive to the bloody tracks left behind when the demons dragged away the noble reptile's broken body. But it is no hypothetical scout gazing upon the ruins. It's Abby, and she is not alone. The shadow of a strange, barely perceptible presence lingers over this place, like a gaze untethered from an observer. This mysterious force unknown to mortal kind silently assesses, judges, and seeks a better way. In an instant, Abby is vested with this power and looks at the world with its eyes. The past, present, and future stand before her as a unified whole, an unmoving, multifaceted crystal that would be beautiful were it not for the fractures, blemishes, and flecks marring its splendor. So let's go with, what does she see in the past? In the past exists the one who wielded this gaze in life. Although the one and life are in opposite terms for Aeons, the supernatural embodiments of cosmic balance. Rather than who or what, a better word for these entities is how. This Aeon appeared from outside this world, from the great beyond, to put an end to the intermingling of planes and destroy the world wound. The chasm disrupting the order of the multiverse. Alas, the visitor from beyond proved too weak for the battle they came to fight. They even failed to finish casting the spell that would have sent Discari back to the abyss. With one swing of his scythe, the demon lord cut the Aeon down. So what future does Abby see? Good and evil, chaos and order, everything is in its lawful place in the multiverse, and is no longer trespassing where it does not belong. Nothing is disrupting the smooth and steady current of the river of souls, from life into death and back to life again. The reality, rid of its flaws, is now perfect, and the Aeons withdraw to eternally admire its beauty, which will never be threatened again. And now the present. Ruins, blood, corpses, none of this perturbs the Aeon's dispassionate gaze. The living are alive, the dead will be judged by Pharasma. All is as it should be. But the demons circling in the sky or prowling through the streets create a jarring juxtaposition, like splashes of blood red ink on a restrained pencil sketch. They should not be here. The world of mortals is for mortals. The demon's place is in the demon world. How sublime the world would be if everything in it knew its place. But even the demons aren't as abhorrent as the sharp-edged, unassuming crystal languishing in the dirt among the bricks and smashed cobblestones. No mortal would notice it, but to the Aeon's eyes, its mere existence is an outrage against universal law. If the Aeon still existed, they would not stop until the crystal was unmade, but the Aeon is gone, and only their gaze remains. Abby picks up the crystal out of the dirt and stores it in her pocket. She is mortal, which means she has the power to decide what to do with it. After allowing the heroine to view the world through their eyes, the little that remained of the destroyed Aeon is killed. Even inappropriate here. Hold on, let's start over. After allowing the heroine to view the world through their eyes, the little that remained of the destroyed Aeon is killed even inappropriate here for an entity that is so removed from life and death as we understand them, used up its last vestiges of energy. Now they're ready to disperse into nothingness unless someone decides to preserve the Aeon within themselves. Will the heroine take on this power so that she may look at the world through another's eyes, or will she allow it to vanish? So for me personally, I always retain the power because I do like seeing some of the options that the Aeon path gives you as time goes on. I'm not necessarily a huge fan of the Aeon path overall, mainly because it's so law centric in that it reminds me a little bit of Halloran And that they're blinded by this is the law and this is all that there is, and it leaves almost like little room for context, but I still like seeing what these options would be. The spirit of the Aeon dwells out of sight deep in Abby's soul, like a pair of magical spectacles stored away until the moment when the heroine once again needs to look at the world through another's eyes. I firmly personally believe that when it comes to stuff like this, like when you're making these like big decisions, because that is kind of at the end of the day what Abby is doing, is making these huge life or death decisions in a lot of ways. I think that having all the information at her fingers and being able to make informed decisions is extremely important, which is also another reason why I do like actually just keeping all these options open, at least until I make other decisions that might close them off. I actually forget though if some of these, I don't actually think some of these will be closed off to me in the end. Okay, so let's do this. Are we gonna win this? Actually, so Abby, can you handle that? Ember doesn't have her fire yet like she does normally. Surrender or else. Which I think is funny. So how is Ember hitting? So I really have nobody that's gonna pass this like religion check. Okay, that's all wait. Okay, they're dead. Never mind. For a second there I thought there was still one alive. Okay. And then there's this arrow, which has a midnight bolt. I thought I had read a walkthrough once way back when that mentioned that like directly across from the dagger there was something else, but I think it might have been that arrow, but I'm not sure. So I do know that
we will win this
the thing that we just picked up, if you do a particular thing with it, it blocks you out of the secret ending of the game. And I haven't fully decided yet if I'm playing for the secret ending. My role-playing heart dies a little on the inside when I think of doing something just for the secret ending, and I kind of know already what the secret ending is, and well, it is an interesting set of outcomes. I don't know if I want to play for that option. And honestly, I want to play for Abby and not for that. Judging by the size of the blood, the body of something truly enormous, likely Turendelev, was dragged out. Count Arenday's servant. Yes! Thank the gods, I found someone who isn't fleeing in a panic. Are you crusaders, mercenaries? The half-elf is so frightened he can barely get the words out. I'm a servant of Count Darren, Kale, Nevis, Arenday. My lord's mansion is under attack by demons. The master himself and all his guests are trapped inside. The house guards are nowhere to be found. I managed to escape through a servant's passage to look for help. Will you help me? The mansion's only a stone's throw away, on the next street over. Count Arenday? I've seen him before a few times. From afar, he looked highly audacious. I confess that he had captured my attention, but that's neither here nor there. We should help him. The gratitude of a rich and influential man can only benefit us. You've heard about the Arenday because we passed a world check. You've heard about the Arenday family before. This wealthy and noble Mendevian dynasty was almost wiped out by demons more than 10 years ago. The last surviving member of the family, the young Count Darren, has an infamous reputation. He's well known for being a rake and a rogue. I'll help. It's not far at all. You're better off entering from the next street over through the passage I used to get out. Help, I'm begging you. I hate to think what the Count will do to me if I don't bring back help. I think you'll be fine. I don't think Darren's gonna really come for you if you don't bring help. Trust me. Trust me. So, what was I even forget what I was talking about. Oh, I think I was talking about the secret ending and how I really just want to play for Abby. And not for other endings that could possibly happen kind of thing. So I think I think I'm going to stick more to that. I think I had mentioned an episode or two ago, honestly, because I'm recording kind of sort of far ahead from what I'm posting. I at times have no idea what you guys have seen when I'm recording versus what I've actually recorded kind of thing. That it's gonna be fun with this because I'm actually just really excited to take you guys through a almost like how in my head I do a lot of role playing as opposed to just role playing it. Because normally, if I'm role playing, I've got the role playing out and like I just that's all I do is role play. But then otherwise we tend to do more like me just chatting like this, but the character doesn't necessarily have a personality of sorts. Like they do, but it's not really like personality. So Abby's gonna kind of be a hybrid of this, which I'm really excited for. Hear me, take heed. The hordes of the abyss march on Canabras. The wardstone is their target. They must not be allowed to capture it. The consequences will be disastrous. Not disastrous. There you are. The golden curled Azamar greets you with a graceful bow. So you found me. I have nowhere else to run. I'm at your mercy. Kill me if you wish. But I ask you, hear me out first. I'm not gonna kill you. Why would I kill you? That would be ridiculous. I don't want to kill you. I want to be your friend. Why are you and Hulrin feuding? Oh, I'm not feuding with him. The way he says that so matter-of-factly, like, I'm not feuding with Hulrin. That's all him. It's all in his head is kind of how that comes off. I sincerely wish only the best for the man. In an ideal world, he'd be far away from the front lines, enjoying a peaceful retirement. Even if that isn't possible, I've always tried to help him fulfill the mission he had taken upon himself, to which he has proved fatally ill-suited for, protecting Canabras against the demons. Unfortunately, he is convinced that the followers of Desna are heretics and saboteurs. He refused to listen to me, and it was only the nightly orders that deterred him from including us in his witch hunts. Now there is clearly no one left to stand in his way. He's finally free to get rid of us once and for all. Now, we haven't talked about like who Desna is overall, so let's just kind of quickly read the tooltip. Which she is Lady Luck, Mother Moon, or the Great Dreamer, goddess of dream, luck, stars, and travelers, is among the most ancient of deities. While her peers burdened themselves with the task of creating Galorian, she spent her time building the heavens. She knew that there would be plenty of time for her and her followers to explore the many wonders of the world later. She has changed little since those early days, and she and her followers delight in exploring the world. I personally like Desna, I think, so far, out of everybody that I've kind of learned about as far as this goes. I like the fact that she likes to explore and give people the freedom that follow her to explore and to make their own decisions and to just kind of grow into themselves. And I really appreciate that about her. So I tend to take the people that follow Desna a little bit more seriously because of that. And while you can run into situations where, yes, like their dreams or whatever it is about them leads them astray or potentially leads them to give bad information, it tends to be, at least from my experience so far in this game, not out of malice, but more sometimes out of them, I don't want to say like being naive, but sometimes they're almost a little too trusting, which we'll kind of see with the followers as we go. But I do really like kind of how this whole storyline plays out. Did you really know about the demon attacking before it happened? I did. We have a secret ally in the enemy ranks. No one knows who this brave soul is, but she's been feeding us information about the demon's plans. These dispatches have come to us by the most reliable channel bestowed upon us by the Great Dreamer herself. They have come to us in dreams. Prelate Hulrin brushed them off as meaningless reveries. And, well, I admit that it isn't always easy to distinguish our allies' messages from ordinary dreams, but even ordinary dreams are gifts from Desna and are always worthy of attention. The prelate and all the crusade leaders, for that matter, should have put less store in reason and more into intuition, inspiration, and spontaneity. I agree in part, also completely disagree in some part. I don't think it should be less store in reason and more into intuition, inspiration, and spontaneity. It almost reminds me of like when you're playing a game and they nerf a whole bunch of things instead of buffing the few things that need to be buffed. And it's like, maybe we shouldn't just do less store and reason, but we should just buff how much we put into like intuition, inspiration, and spontaneity. So it's almost like we just need to seek that balance. And I think that sometimes that's where like this, and especially with like people of Desna and stuff like that, can go a little wrong, is that they want too much of one thing but not enough of another, and there's no balance. But you could make the case that a lot of the characters that you meet aren't as balanced in that way, but that's what makes them interesting, and that's what makes it interesting to watch them grow as people, because then you kind of start to see that balance happening. What's more, not long before the attack on the city, a blind elf who calls himself the Storyteller arrived in Canabris. This wanderer wasn't merely a collector of legends, but a scholar of the unknown. According to him, the wardstone in our city, the first and most important in the chain of wardstones, weakened since long ago, was teetering on the brink of corruption. It seems that the Red Morning Massacre and the other demon attacks, even the ones we fended off, didn't leave us unscathed. Unfortunately, the prelate didn't wish to listen to the storyteller either. We're lucky he wasn't burnt at the stake as a heretic. We had such vital information on our hands, information that could have saved the city, but no one cared to listen at all to the catastrophic, all the way to the catastrophic end. And it's, once again, Halrin, you can see where a lot of ways he wasn't balanced. And you can see what happened because of that. Like, he put so much into just his reports that he didn't put enough into, maybe his intuition was telling him, hey, you maybe should take a little bit more of a look into this. So there wasn't that balance there, and it led to this, which is a cause and effect in some way. Not all dreams have benign. No, tell me about the strange ritual. Hold on, I just want to see. There's one that I actually really liked. Tell me about the strange ritual that were going to be performed on the wardstone. Ramien looks slightly abashed. When my attempts to open Halrin's eyes ended in failure, a few of my young adepts resolved to take matters into their own hands. They didn't consult me before doing so, but I've never demanded iron discipline from my priests. Army commanders may have subordinates, but I have pupils and fellow worshippers. I can only inspire them, I cannot command them. And it seems they were all inspired on their own. In other words, you get to preach whatever you want. You don't have to take any responsibility for your flock. You've really got it made. I think that that's interesting coming from Lan, right? So earlier, when we had the sword of heaven, blah, 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 or sorry, the light of heaven and the sword and everything, and Lan's out here just like, hey, look, she's got it. It's going to benefit us, blah, blah, blah. We need to go to war. And then you had Wenduag over here like, you are going to cause them to all die because you made them make this decision, kind of thing. And so now it's almost like the tables are reversed, and where Lan's almost taking the same position that Wenduag did, where Lan's like, you get to preach, but you don't have to take responsibility for it. And while, yes, this is his flock that he is guiding, they are still individuals, especially with how Desna works, and they are responsible for their own actions. All Ramien can do is teach them and guide them, and while granted, he would have to bear some responsibility if he didn't guide them or teach them correctly, the fact that they went off on their own would be of their own accord. That would be their own action. So it's really interesting to see how Lan, in some cases, I don't want to say like he flip-flops, but like he definitely has like a tunnel when it comes to the mongrels and getting them out, because he wants them to come out and see the world. He wants them to come out and live and to not have to stay underground forever. And then when he's out in the world and he's talking to everybody else, he's got an entirely different set sometimes of what he says. Not all the time. A lot of times he is he treats it both the same way inside the mongrels and outside the mongrels, but this is where you start to see it kind of differ, and I find that really interesting about his character. For pity's sake, how can I be held responsible for the actions of others? Which is almost exactly what we said to Wenduag when we were dealing with the light of heaven and everything like that and talking to Saul. So it's, these are not children we're discussing here. They're grown adults endowed with their own free will. Praise the goddess. Of course, we all help one another, but in the final reckoning, each of us decides how we will act, and each must answer for those choices. I 100% agree. Like, yes. Exactly. So this is all on them. And if they do something stupid, it is also on them. All he can do is offer information, give them the tools to make good decisions. And the only way the fault would even remotely lie with him is if he purposely led them astray, if he purposely gave them bad tools to make their decisions, which then caused them to make bad decisions. But from what we know right now, as far as the story goes, he didn't do that. They had no ill intent. They only wished to access the wardstone in secret and try to cleanse it. But to Halloran, this became perform a suspect ritual after hearing even more suspect voices in their dream. The children wanted to save their city, but the Inquisitor detained them and almost killed them. I had to intervene. I used my authority and my power as a cleric to give them a chance to flee. If they hadn't gotten away, they were destined for a cell in the prelate's dungeons and quite likely death. Is there a chance you can resolve your conflict? I don't... Did I... Okay. I don't know. Halloran's faith is truly formidable. Not only his faith in Iomade, but in his own infallibility. In other words, he's as hard-headed as a rock troll. But even so, Desna teaches us to never lose hope. Talk to him. I bet. I try to explain that we're fighting on the same side. If he attacks you, disarm him, bind his hands, I beg you. If at all possible, please don't kill him. Not all dreams have benign origins. What if those were sent by demons? In a different time and place, someone perhaps could have become a victim of false dreams sent by monsters. But here, in the war with the Abyss, the goddess is keeping a close eye on her most faithful followers. I have no doubt that if a demon tried to intrude upon the dreams of any one of us, Desna's punishment wouldn't have been swift. So why haven't you left? Because people might need help. They all come to the temple in search of a priest. I will not hide away in a hole, saving my own neck, while Canobris is full of people suffering in the wake of the demon's attack. And this makes him, in part, a hero or a good person, because he sees that. He sees that he can't just walk away. Okay, so let's go with I have to go, because obviously I don't want to kill Halloran. As much as myself and Abby find him to be annoying, he's not worth killing. Like, it's really not worth the effort. And the lawful, like, I'm obviously not going to touch him. That's just ridiculous. I have a quick question, though. Did I miss, like, there was one part that I was like, did I, himself or heretics? Maybe I didn't. Like, maybe it's not here. There's, like, one part that, oh, you know where it might come from? Hold on. It might be the people behind me. Wait, 3 of my adepts are hiding somewhere in the ruins of the city. And the ones of the Inquisitors wrongly accused of treason. I beg you find them, protect them against the demons and vigilantes like Halloran. They will not rest until they find them. If there is anything else you can do to save Canobris, please do it. And these should be... Stranger, wait! Haha. Spare Ramien despite what the Mad Inquisitor told you. The young voice comes from nowhere. Oh, hang on. I forgot to remove my spell. I hope Halloran's dogs aren't lurking nearby. A pale youth materializes before you. His face looks haggard from lack of sleep, but he's clearly pleased to be speaking to someone. So you're one of the Desna adepts that tried to break into the Wardstone. Yes, I'm Ilk's cleric of Desna, and one of the people who answered the call of the voice in dreams. Some unknown person made contact with us through our dreams, telling us about the demons' plans. We learned that the demons were planning to attack Canobris and do something terrible to our Wardstone, which already carried the taint of corruption. Prelate Halloran refused to heed our warnings. We had to make a choice. We could either throw up our hands and pull back or take action, even though it could cost us our lives. But what heartless person could stand by in the face of such a deadly threat? What were you planning to do to the Wardstone? The young man hesitates. Our plan was to get to it and then follow our instincts. There were 3 of us, a cleric, a mage, and a bard. Between us, we know a lot. We're capable of a great deal, but if we'd had enough time, I'm sure we could have figured out what was wrong with the Wardstone and how to heal it, but they didn't give us time. Yes, the local commanders got roped into dealing with this. Some idiot kids tried to break into the Wardstone, apparently some of ours, but who even knows these days? Seela sighs. I know there's no evil in you, I can sense things like that, but what you did was so stupid and impulsive, someone could have gotten hurt. I know from experience. So you lot decided that you needed to do something right away, so you did something right away. Great work! Lan gives a sarcastic round of applause. Like the city authorities would have done a better job. They were gonna do a thing, even though it sounds like they weren't going to do a thing, even though it sounds like they knew about the danger. So, like, this is where the distinct differences in all of your companions' personalities come in, and I do so much appreciate that everybody in this is their own person, and I don't feel like any of our companions are necessarily clones of the other, if that makes sense. Where Woljif brings up a fantastic point. Like, they had to do something because they knew that the city authorities were never going to do anything. And as it was pointed out, like, what were they going to do? Stand by and just walk away? Like, that wasn't an acceptable answer to them. And while Sela brings up a good point, that they're not evil, but what they did was stupid and impulsive. It's stupid and impulsive in that they didn't go in necessarily with a clear-cut plan. So, like, Land's sarcastic remark kind of makes sense here. So, like, you decided that you needed to do something, so you did something, but otherwise you didn't do anything. But if they had gone in with a clear-cut plan of this is how we heal the ward stone, it probably would have been a little different. However, because they didn't, it was definitely, I don't want to say like less of a plan, but it was definitely more of a just kind of chaotic plan. But I still definitely do agree with Woljif here. Like, nobody else was going to do anything, so doing something in lieu of that was better than just standing around and watching this all happen and not having tried. Because the other thing that's not being taken into context here is that these three adepts were going to have to live with this on their conscience, right? They either could have, as was brought up, walk away, do nothing, or they could try to do something even if it cost them their lives. And they had to weigh the pros and cons of that and think about what they could personally live with. Like, at the end of the day, what is going to cause them to be able to sleep at night? Walking away or not walking away? And so they chose the one that morally fit who they were. All they knew was that some crazies had some weird dreams. But anyways, it's a little late to be trying to pin blame on people. I don't think anybody was necessarily, like, Abby most certainly was not trying to pin blame on anybody. She just literally wanted to know, what were you gonna do? Can I hear about your plan? And then we learned that there was no plan, which is still technically a plan in itself. So how did you even come up with such a plan? How could we not come up with that plan? You sense the young man's tempers rising. Listen, Desna is the goddess of luck, but luck as many lay people would understand it, and luck as we, the followers of the Music of Spheres, see it, are far from the same thing. Our people believe that luck is something good that falls into your lap just because, like a generous unearned reward. We see luck as a fundamental law of creation, according to which even in the darkest hour of the most hopeless situation, a chance of rescue and a change for the better can arise. But you've got to seize this chance when it presents itself, or better yet, create your own. Followers of Desna are not people who like idleness and inaction. That's why when Canabras was in trouble, we did as our goddess had taught us. We took matters into our own hands and tried in a moment of desperation to pluck our chance from the hands of fate itself. So this is where you really see, though, that how most of the time, like you mentioned, like when you think of luck, you think of just, oh, you know, $20 fell into my lap, like I found it in the street. That's considered luck. Whereas here, what they're saying is with Desna, you make your luck, right? You have to see everything that's going on around you. You have to make very precise decisions almost in order to create that luck, so to seize that chance, right? So if they weren't people that were prone to taking chances, and if they weren't, as like you said, like Desna doesn't like inaction, so they have to be people that will take action, that will see all sides of a situation and then pick the best course of action and go from there. And because they did that, they saw that the only course of action left to them was this, and they were hoping that basically Desna would kind of bolster that luck because they took the you know, that moment to make their own fate. You were trying to help. Can they punish you if you were trying to help? Is that allowed? Ember, it's not. But unfortunately, a lot of people aren't going to see it that way. Sometimes it's even necessary. I don't get that part, though. Like, they were trying to help. You, like, how is that necessary? I mean, I guess it depends on, like, who's helping who and what your definition of help is. But in this case, Ember does generally mean it in a pure sense. Like, these were good people trying to do a good thing. How can they punish you for that? Whereas I don't know if Lan is necessarily referring to the context that Ember is given. But anyways, how could a zealot like Halloran become the respected defender of Canabras? His faith is strong, incredibly strong. The people of the city have seen him fighting on the front lines time after time. I myself remember feeling dumbstruck the first time I saw that gruff old man slaying demons in a fit of righteous fury. The people living on the edge of the abyss need protecting more than anything else, and that's why they are prepared to forgive their protector almost anything, even prejudice, paranoia, and the death of innocence. So this is, once again, as I was mentioning earlier, one of the things I like most about this game is that we kind of understand at a low level who Halloran is, but then as you keep going, and if you keep asking the right questions, you'll get more information on his backstory, which is showing you and not like telling you necessarily. I mean, I know we're reading and stuff like that, but like you're getting these examples and this context of why Halloran is the way that he is, right? Halloran has gone through a lot, and it's made him very much stick to the law, very much hate anything that could even be remotely evil. He hates all forms of demons, everything like that. But then you also see this, that because people on the edge of the abyss need protection from these demons more than anything else, that they're literally prepared to forgive Halloran for anything, which then puts him on a different level as far as his decision making goes, because he can now take these risks on decisions that he doesn't even see as risks anymore, because he knows that people are just going to say, that's fine. You're Halloran, you protect us. So you know what? If you think that this innocent person, like let's say Ember, is a bad person and should be burned at the stake, well, we're just going to go with it because you know what? You protected us from that demon attack 3 days ago and I'm alive because of you. So it gives them that free pass, where in an ordinary situation, if they were being protected from the demons by Halloran, and then Halloran tried to burn Ember at the stake, they'd be like, whoa, that's not, she's just a young innocent girl theoretically, right? Shouldn't we talk about this? Shouldn't we go through the justifications of why you feel like we need to do this? Shouldn't there be another thing or punishment or whatever it is that we can do? Because this seems kind of extreme. And so you're kind of missing that disconnect, and you see that Halloran is a product of not only his own decisions, but the decisions of other people as well. And the fact that they're not necessarily holding him accountable for certain bad decisions that he's making. Also, Halloran hasn't been as brutal as he used to be for a long time. He has his loyal right-hand man, Leotor, known as Hawkblade, who we'll actually end up meeting down the road. He's a witch hunter too, but a good deal more rational, even tempered. Halloran trusts him completely, and he always conducted a thorough investigation before dragging the victim to the fire. It's our bad luck that Leader left Canabras in pursuit of some particularly vicious hags 2 weeks before the attack. If he were here, he wouldn't have let Halloran attack Ramien. On the other hand, if he were here, we wouldn't have escaped after trying to get to the Wardstone. We'd be all in a cell right now. So then the question is, right, was knowing who Halloran is, and knowing Halloran as we know Halloran now, and now getting more backstory, was his right hand led away by the demons? Like, was this actually by design? Because one of the things that if you're trying to attack and destroy a city, a group of people, whatever it is, you need to know their weaknesses. And Halloran, as strong as he is, as good of a protector as he is, he's also a weakness when he doesn't have somebody else to balance him, as we're seeing. He's not saving people right now. He's protecting a hole in the ground, right? He's not digging people out of their homes. He's not, doing anything like that. He's not at where Erebeth and everything like that is trying to coordinate to attack the demons to end this threat. He's guarding a hole in the ground. So he becomes a liability. So then at the end of the day, was there somebody very extremely conniving that made it so Hawkblade had to leave? So then that way Halloran would be on his own when they attacked. So then that way it would just add another level of almost like destruction to the city. Whose voice have you been hearing in your dreams? Nobody knows what it is, but everyone who has heard her, I should say, is convinced that she's a good and pure soul chosen by Desna. We had a choice. We could trust her and accept that we have an ally somewhere who isn't afraid of the armies of the abyss, or we could drown in suspicions and get one step closer to becoming just like Halloran. We decided to trust the voice, and seeing Canabras devastated, which is what our unknown ally tried to prevent until the very end, I can see now who had truth on their side. Where are your fellow worshippers, and how many of them are there? Actually, first, do you need help? Desna teaches us to trust in last-ditch chances. Listen, my friends are called Aranka and Thal. Thal the Wallflower. Aranka is an amazing singer and a truly beautiful girl. She has plenty of friends and fans, and she probably blend into a crowd somewhere. Wallflower is a mage. I don't think he'll risk using magic. It will only bring the Inquisitor down on him. He'll be harder to find. You'd better find Aranka first. She might know where Wallflower is. Please find them. Protect them against the demons, the Inquisitor. I will await news in the goddess's temple. I hope our mysterious helper will send us a new message that will reveal what is to come from the demons. And where are your fellow worshippers? How many of them are there? Fortunately or unfortunately, I don't know where they are. We split up to confuse the Inquisitor who is chasing us away. Go, may Desna be with you. So that's how that goes. Now, the interesting thing is, if you go and try to deal with this now, you actually get, oh, yes, adopt the kitten. Now we got a cat too. If you deal with finding, I think it's a wallflower now, the interesting thing is that it's actually a slightly different thing than if you go and talk to Prelate Hulrin now. If you talk to Prelate Hulrin now, things go a little different, but if you go and go to find Wallflower first, it's actually not. Because he ends up showing up kind of thing. So I actually think it is interesting that there is a cause and effect there. Okay, so there are a couple of things I definitely want to do in the city before we go. I want to go get Darren, though, more than anything. I would like to go pick up Darren. I miss him already.